The TINETTI Performance-Oriented Mobility Assessment. This assessment provides a brief and reliable measure of both static and dynamic balance in sitting, standing, and gait. It is a 2-point scale system or 3-point scale system, earning a 0, 1, or 2. It was developed for elderly in the nursing homes and is to determine their risk for falls. A patient who scores less than 19 has a high risk for falls, and between 19 and 24 is a moderate risk for falls. The first step is sitting balance. The patient leans to the side of the chair, they earn a 0. If the patient leads in the chair slightly and has a slight increased distance from the back of the chair to the buttock, is a 1. If they are safe, steady, and upright, they earn a 2. Step 2 is arising from the chair. Unable to without help or loss of balance is a 0. If they are able to stand but must use arms or requires more than 2 attempts, they get a 1. If they are able to stand without arms and in 1 attempt, they get a 2. Step 3, immediate standing balance, the first 5 seconds. If the patient stands and is unsteady, has marked staggering, or moves feet, they get a 0. If as they stand they are steady but need a walker or cane or have mild staggering, they earn a 1. If as they stand they are steady and do not need to use a walker or cane, they earn a 2. Step 4, side-by-side standing balance. If they are unsteady when standing, they earn a 0. If they are unsteady and have a wide stance, more than 4 inches apart, they earn a 1. If they stand without support and have a narrow stance, they earn a 2. Step 5, the pull test. Subject will stand in the maximum position. An examiner will stand behind them while exerting mild pullback at the wrist. If the examiner does pull back and patient falls or begins to fall, they earn a 0. If they only stagger or grab but catch self, they earn a 1. And if patient is steady, they earn a 2. Step 6, turn 360. If patient is able to turn in a 360 degrees and they are unsteady or grabs onto an object, they earn a 0. If patient is able to turn 360 and they are steady but their steps are discontinuous, they earn a 1. Patient is able to turn 360 degrees and their steps are continuous and steady, they earn a 2. Step 7, able to stand on one leg for 5 seconds. If patient is unable to stand on one foot or needs to hold on to an object, they earn a 0. If there's some staggering or swaying or movement of feet, they earn a 1. If patient is able to stand on one foot, they earn a 2. Step 8, tandem stand. If they are unable to stand with one foot in front of the other or they begin to fall, they earn a 0. If patient has some staggering, swaying, movement of arms, or moves the foot slightly, they earn a 1. If patient is able to tandem stand for 5 seconds, they earn a 2. Step 9, reaching up. Examiner holds a 5-pound weight at height of subject's fully extended reach. If they are unable or holds onto any object, they get a 0. If patient has some staggering, swaying, or moving of feet slightly, they earn a 1. If patient is able to hold the 5-pound weight, they earn a 2. Step 10, bending over to pick up the 5-pound weight on the floor. Place the 5-pound weight on the floor and ask the subject to pick it up. If they are unable to or are unsteady, they earn a 0.
Go ahead and pick up the weight.
If patient is able to and is steady, then you will time the amount of seconds it is required to pick up the object.
Go ahead. 9 seconds.
Step 11, sit down. If the patient is unsafe, misjudges the distance, or falls into the chair, they earn a 0. If patient uses arms or it is not a smooth motion, they earn a 1. If patient is safe and uses a smooth motion, they earn a 2. 11A, timed rising. Time required to rise from the chair 3 times in seconds.
Okay. So we're going to do this 3 times.
3 times.
2. One more time. Okay, that was 11 seconds.
All right, for this section of the TINETTI, the total balance subset is 21 points, and there are 2 per items. The second portion of the TINETTI is gait. Subject stands with examiner, walks down a 15-foot walkway. The examiner will ask the subject to walk down the walkway, turn, and walk back. Subject should use any customary walking aid if they use them. Step 1, initiation of gait, immediately after told to go. If there's any hesitancy or multiple attempts to start, they earn a 0.
Okay.
If patient has no hesitancy when told to go, they earn a 1.
Okay.
Step 2, path. Estimated in relation to a line on the floor or rug. Observe excursion of 1 foot over middle 10 feet of course. If there is marked deviation, patient earns a 0. If there is mild or moderate deviation, or they need to use a walking aid, they earn a 1. If they're able to walk straight without a walking aid, they earn a 2. Step 3, missed step, trip, or loss of balance. If they do in fact trip or lose their balance and have an inappropriate attempt to recover, they earn a 0. If they do trip or lose their balance but have an appropriate attempt to recover, they earn a 1. If there is no trip or no loss of balance, the patient will earn a 2. Step 4, turning while walking. If patient staggers or is unsteady, they earn a 0. If patient is able to turn but the turn is discontinuous, no staggering, and uses a walker or cane, they earn a 1. Patient is steady and continuous without a walking aid, they earn a 2. Timed walk performance after 1 through 7 of the previous section is completed. You will ask subject to walk at a normal pace throughout the 15-foot walkway.
Walk at a normal pace.
Next, you will ask the subject to walk as fast as feels safe and time it.
Walk as fast as feels safe.
The time should be recorded. Step 6, step over an obstacle. To be assessed in a separate walk with a blocked place on the course. If patient begins to fall or is unable to clear the object, they earn a 0.
So we're going to be stepping over this object.
If patient is able but uses walking aid or there's some staggering but catches self, they earn a 1. If patient is able and steady, they earn a 2. This completes the TINETTI. The total gait subset test for this portion is 9 points. Timed items are 5. You will then record the total score, a maximum of 30 points.